to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Everett Silvertips defenseman Tarin Smith. Tarin, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
My first question to you is how have you been doing recently?
Been doing pretty good. Nice to be home. Been seeding around the farm the last couple of weeks, so that's been good.
And with you being from Saskatchewan, a ton of farmland there, is that kind of what you're mainly going to be doing this summer?
Uh, yeah, from now till about July, I'm normally around the farm, and then once July rolls around, I move to Saskatoon, and then I start skating. So, yeah.
Have you been following along with the Memorial Cup or no?
Yeah, I've been watching quite a few of the games, especially Moose Jaw. Those games are pretty exciting to watch, and I know a couple guys on that team, so yeah.
Well, what's it been like to go up against Moose Jaw? Did you kind of get the feeling that they would end up being the WHL champions?
Yeah, definitely. They were obviously a super good team when we played them. They have tons of top end talent, so obviously got a little bit of a hunch that they're one of the better teams in the league. So yeah.
I mean, them in London as well as Saginaw kind of look like the three teams that are going to be making it, in my opinion. I don't see really Drummondville getting past Moose Jaw. Like, I think Moose is going to win that game tonight.
Yeah, I agree. That'll be exciting.
Have you been following with the NHL playoffs as well?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge Oilers fan, so
Really?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it kind of seems like, they're Canada's team.
yeah, definitely. Everyone around here is an Oilers fan at least, so
I'm rooting for the Stars, actually.
yeah, that's garbage.
Yeah, no. Like if McDavid were to win a cup, he could do it any other year, just not this year. It's the Stars' year. Getting into your story, who influenced you to get into hockey?
My dad, he played a lot of hockey growing up. Yeah, he kind of just showed me the game, brought me into the game. So
Was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
yeah, I watched a lot of Eric Carlson and Drew Doughty. That's back when Carlson was on the Sens.
Yeah.
He was obviously pretty sick, pretty cool to
Yeah.
watch back then. And then my dad was a pretty big Drew Doughty fan, so we watched a lot of him together.
Seeing Eric Carlson being able to wheel and deal like he did on the Senators in the offensive zone, it was sick. It was sick to watch.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was super exciting.
You're from Saskatchewan, as I mentioned. You're a big Oilers fan. Do you have any memories of the Battle of Alberta?
I remember when Zach Cassian and Kachuk used to go at it all the time. Those games used to always be so exciting when those two used to battle each other all the time. So just watching those games back then.
Have you been fortunate enough to go see any of Edmonton, Calgary, or no?
No, I haven't watched any Edmonton Calgary. I've been to a couple Oilers games, but no Battle of Alberta ones.
Hopefully in the future, though, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
How much of your childhood was spent on the ODR?
Tons of it. My dad used to build me one in the backyard every winter. So I was out on the rink almost every day. So
That's sick. Like, because I have to assume that there's just a ton of land for you to use.
yeah. We live on a farm, so our yard's huge. So we would have like a rink that's like half the size of a regulation one. So
I mean, it kind of helps, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
When the pandemic did come around, how did you change up your workout routine? Because that was around the time where you started to kind of get scouted for the WHL, if I am correct there.
Yeah. Um that was kind of an awkward, not an awkward, a weird time sort of. I'm already kind of in the middle of nowhere with not a ton of resources around me. So I kind of just had to resort to at home workouts in the basement, doing as much as I could. And then being out on the rink during winter. Yeah, so kind of just stuff like that. So
Before getting drafted to the Silvertips, you played with the Saskatoon Blazers. How did they kind of help you develop in before getting to the WHL?
yeah, I think that's definitely a first class organization, especially when it comes to U18 AAA. I know they prepared me a lot for what it's like to kind of move away from home in that kind of aspect. And then at the same time, they kind of teach you what it's like to be a pro and what it's like to come to the rink every day and take care of your body and treat yourself well. So yeah, they did a huge job preparing me for Everett. So
Moving away from home, like, was that kind of a big adjustment for you?
yeah, it was huge. Coming from a town of 700, 800 people, moving to Saskatoon with 300,000, it was tough. Definitely one of the hardest things was switching to a way bigger school. I struggled the first couple months, just kind of finding myself in that school, but I kind of figured it out after a while, and then I really started to enjoy it there.
Was it someone on the hockey team, or like how did you kind of get around that adjustment?
Yeah. Um, there was a couple guys on my team that went to the same school as me, and they definitely helped out a lot. Just hanging around with them all the time. They kind of showed me around. So yeah.
You played in the playoffs with the Blazers. It wasn't a huge playoff run as you would have liked, but was there anything that you saw in that playoff run that kind of helped you?
Yeah, that's kind of when I got a first taste for what real playoffs is like, when the play kind of amps up, because obviously everyone wants to win. You're super competitive at that age. Yeah, I remember that we had a series against Warman, and that series was just an absolute bloodbath. Yeah.
Like, are you talking about scrums after every whistle?
Yeah, big hits, scrums after whistle, stuff like that. So,
And I assume that just the crowds were amazing too, right?
yeah, especially in uh when you're playing minor hockey, we would get like a couple thousand people at the games. It was nuts.
You were drafted by the Silvertips in the 2021 Dub draft with the 20th overall pick. What do you remember from draft day?
Yeah. I remember my parents were both working and couldn't make it to the city. So I was actually watching the draft alone in my billet's living room. But I remember then my parents making the trip up that night. We had a pretty big celebration, so it was a fun day for sure.
At least they were able to celebrate with you, although, it does kind of suck they weren't with you in the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
You made your WHL debut against the Prince George Cougars in Prince George. What do you remember from that game?
Uh, I just remember that bus ride being maybe one of the worst bus rides I've ever been on. Uh, 20-hour bus ride kind of sucked, but that game was super exciting. My parents did actually make the trip out to PG to watch my debut, so that was super cool. Um, yeah, I remember getting the win. Obviously, when I did play with Everett in that game, we had a ton of guys injured, so I remember getting a lot more ice time than I thought I would have, and I don't know, it's just super fun experience. So
Was it a bit of a shock to see your parents make that trip to PG to watch you?
yeah, definitely. They drove there with my auntie and uncle and my cousins, and it's like a 16, 17-hour drive. So yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
How did you kind of adapt to the amount of ice time that you were getting in, because you, like you said, you weren't expecting it, but due to the amount of injuries the Tips had at the time, you were given the chance to earn, 17 minutes a night.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think I kind of just try not to overthink it. I think that's one big thing for me is kind of just keeping it simple and keeping calm and collected, and that kind of helps me throughout the game. So yeah, just not overthinking. So
I guess that trip to PG kind of helped you get used to some of the long bus rides that you have in the WHL.
yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah.
Last season, you had the chance to represent Canada playing for Team Canada Red at the U17s. What was that experience like?
That was a super cool week tournament. Obviously get to meet a ton of new guys from all over Canada, and then at the same time, I've never really played international teams till then, so it was really cool to play a team like Finland, Sweden, and Czechia, teams like that. Yeah, it was just super fun week.
How did you find out that you made the team?
I remember getting a phone call. I was playing NHL 24 at my billet's house, and I got a phone call from someone up at Team Canada saying I made it. So
Who's your go-to team to rip in Show 24?
Oilers, 100%.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to rip Oilers, right? I
Yeah,
mean, using McDavid with elite edges, that's just unfair.
he's a cheat code in that game.
Oh my God. Like, I know playing Show 24, when I see someone using the Oilers, like I know I'm cooked. My ass is cooked. There's no way that I'm winning that game.
Yeah,
I might as well quit before the game starts.
seriously.
He's just such a cheat code.
Or if you see his card and hut, then you just know you got to back out.
Oh, exactly. What was that? So the pace of the camp for the U17s, what was that like?
Yeah, that was also that was a fast because it was kind of in the middle of summer, so nobody had been playing games in a while. That was super high intense. I remember that. Yeah, that was also just a super fun week, getting to meet tons of new guys, and it's pretty cool how close you get to those guys after only being around them for a week. So
With it only being a week long, were you able to soak some of the stuff in or no?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, just soaking it all in for a week, just knowing that it's kind of a surreal experience. So
Well, that camp featured, some WHL players like Carson Wetch, Tija Ginla, Berkeley Catton, even. You've had many battles against them playing, against them in the WHL. What can you say about that skill group there?
yeah, definitely an unbelievable group of hockey players. Obviously super fun to play against, super fun to battle against. Guy like Berkeley Catton, I've played against him for as long as I can remember. Um, I don't know, it's just super cool being able to play against a guy like that and just how much better he makes you playing against him. So yeah.
What's it like playing against Jerome McGinley's son, like in camp?
Yeah. Uh that was pretty sweet actually. I don't know, I didn't really think too much about it, but now like looking back on it, like I don't know, it's pretty sweet. So
Like you just played against, this Flames legend, numbers retired Hall of Fame legend, his son, just casually, you go up against him almost, every night. It's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it is pretty sweet. Yeah.
This year you set career highs in every major statistical category. What do you attribute that to?
I think I attribute lots of it to the coaching staff in Everett. I think they did kind of a great job bringing me in this year with only the 12 games that I had. Uh, they just kind of did a good job easing me into the league as quickly as possible, kind of helping me figure out the ropes as quick as I could. So, yeah.
How important was it for you to gain that trust with the coaches so that you could be used on the power play, that you could be used in every situation?
That was huge. I know kind of when I did start to pick up that trust, that's kind of when things started to take off. Um, I feel like that's kind of just when, as soon as the coaches trust you, that's where you get the confidence from, and that's where you kind of start rolling. So,
Was there kind of a moment where you can pinpoint that your confidence reached an all-time high this season?
uh, probably just getting moved on to the power play. After not really playing on the power play, and then finally getting that switch up there because they trusted me. So, yeah,
And then, then you're included in the power play meetings too, right?
yeah, and that helps a lot.
So that's sick. Like, so not only are you quarterbacking the power play, but you feel more involved in a sense, right?
100%. Yeah.
Coming into this season, what did your off season focus on? So prior to this season,
Yeah. So me having the major shoulder surgery last season, I had to focus a lot on rehab and stuff like that. But then at the same time, you obviously want to get a lot stronger, a lot faster. But yeah, I just focused a lot on just like the fundamentals in the gym, just kind of getting the basics down, stuff like that. So
it must have sucked to be sidelined for that shoulder surgery for so long, right? You were away from the team, you couldn't really skate even.
yeah, that sucked. That was a pretty tough couple months last year. Just kind of being away from the game for that long, definitely sucked. So, yeah.
How do you think that your game has kind of progressed since that shoulder surgery?
Yeah, I think I've came a long way. I think being away from hockey for that long kind of gave me an appreciation that I didn't have for it before. Kind of maybe a little bit of extra motivation when the game kind of got taken away from me when I least expected it. Made me appreciate it more than I ever had before. So,
You went up against the Vancouver Giants in the first round of the playoffs. They took game one in your barn. What did the team do to kind of help flip the momentum back to the Silvertips side because essentially you guys kind of swept them, winning 4 in a row.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we all kind of deep down we just knew what kind of team we were, and especially from the meetings we had with Vancouver throughout the regular season. Um, I think maybe that game one was just kind of a get the nerves kind of out thing, and then everyone from there started to sort of roll. So
How big of a leadership kind of role did Austin Roast have this season?
yeah, he's an unreal captain. Just a great guy to have in the dressing room. One of those guys who you can kind of go talk to, whether it's hockey related or not. So definitely a great guy to look up to.
You guys went up against the Portland Winterhawks in round 2. What did they do to help, or what did they do to make it tough on you guys to find success?
Yeah, they're such a fast-paced team. They play so quick with the puck, just turning it up ice and constantly shoving it right back down your throat. So I think just the pace of play that they play at is super hard to keep up with and play against for 7-game series. So
You're a draft prospect for this summer's draft. What should fans know about the style of game that you play?
I think I'm kind of a two-way D-man who uses deception a lot. I feel like that's something one of my biggest assets is the deceptive part of my game. And then at the same time, I feel like I have quite a bit of puck skill with the puck, especially on the ozone blue line. So yeah.
How did this season help you prepare for the draft?
I think this season kind of just showed me like where I kind of place. Definitely learned a lot over the 60, 68 games during this year. Just like maturing over time, stuff like that. So
How much confidence did it add to yourself knowing that you can play kind of that full WHL season?
yeah, tons. Never really playing a full season like that in the Western League before. Definitely was pretty nerve-wracking, and then coming into this year, being able to play the whole season was definitely quite the confidence booster. So,
How come you decided to wear number 24?
uh, so I've always worn 9 because my dad wore 9 his whole life, and then the Blazers had it retired. So my dad was a pretty big Ty Smith fan. He kind of grew up with Ty Smith's dad, and Ty Smith wore number 24. So my dad suggested maybe I should wear that. So I ended up going to 24.
That's sick. Because Ty Smith, he's with the Penguins affiliate, I'm pretty sure right now.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, that's cool. Like to get that number, and Smith, he played in the dub as well. So and he's kind of that offensive defenseman, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you played in any teddy bear toss games in your career or no?
Yeah. I think we played in 3 this season.
3? That's crazy.
Yeah, we played in Edmonton in the Oil Kings teddy bear toss game, sold out Rogers Center. That was unreal.
That's sick. Well, it's cool
Yeah.
because like you see all the Bears rain down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you're the visiting team, you see the Bears rain down. You're just like, okay, well now we have to mentally reset for like 45 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, that's the worst thing ever because you go back and no matter when they score in the period, you go back into the dressing room, you sit in there and wait for 15 minutes while they shovel all these bears off the ice, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So
It acts as like a mini intermission.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
What was Everett's teddy bear toss like this year?
It was electric.
That's
The fans
sick.
fans in Everett are unreal. They always are. I think we had like a ridiculous amount of teddy bears thrown. I don't know the exact number, but I remember it broke some sort of record. So
Is like what do you remember from that teddy bear toss? Is it the bears being thrown, or is it kind of the goal being scored?
I remember most of the goal being scored. I was on the ice for it. I do remember getting hit in the head with teddy bear too, but
They were definitely targeting you. Absolutely.
must have been.
That's hilarious. So with you playing a full season in the WHO, do you have a least favorite and a favorite arena to travel to?
Yeah. Oh, least there's a couple least favorite ones. I hate playing in Tri-City.
Really?
Yeah, the drive isn't that bad, but like the rooms aren't the greatest. Their fans are nuts. Um, stuff like that. But playing in Edmonton was unreal. Like their facilities are just absolutely ridiculous. So
Well, I mean, they share with an NHL team, right? It doesn't get better
yeah,
than that.
no, it doesn't.
Like, think about, you're a huge Oilers fan. You're sharing the same ice as Connor McDavid. Like, that's
Yeah.
sick.
I like the away dressing room we were in. I was like absolutely mind blown by how nice it was.
Because it's like NHL standard.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you get to Trice and you're like, what the hell? Like, this is
yeah, exactly.
garbage.
Yeah, the demon and the forwards are in separate rooms like minor hockey.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yeah,
realize it was that small.
yeah.
What is your game day routine then?
Yeah. I follow a pretty strict routine. I always nap at the same time for a 7 o'clock game. I'll always nap from 2 to 3. I'll always eat the same chicken Alfredo when I wake up from my nap. I always drink the same coffee, a black coffee before every game. So yeah,
I love chicken Alfredo. That
I
pasta slaps. I love that.
yeah.
Who do you think is the hardest player you've had to defend and why?
Uh I think probably Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
Played against him last year. He was obviously unbelievable to play against. I remember he came down on me on a 2-on-1 once, and I swear I took away the shot as much as I could, and he still managed to drag it around me and shoot. But
And it's just like on highlight reels, and you're like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, I was like, oh boy. And then he shot, and then my goalie saved it. And I was like, oh, thank God.
yeah, because then you would have been, in the meetings and just on highlight reels and
All over TSN and bar
yeah,
down.
exactly. Because it's like everyone focuses on the goal, but then no one focuses on like the defenseman, and that player just ruined that defenseman's entire night.
Yeah.
My last question for you is: do you have any advice for any hockey players?
Yeah. I think just kind of just stick with it. Just don't take the game for granted. Obviously it goes by super fast. Um, I feel like the biggest thing is to just soak it all in. Like it's going to be the best time of your life. You're going to make so many friendships, stuff like that. So just soak it all in. Don't take it for granted.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank again Tarin Smith for joining me on today's podcast. Thank you again, Tarin.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.